Good evening, everybody. Happy Easter. So glad you're with me tonight. I'm Nate Eaton coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. We have a big day tomorrow. Lori Vallow, the case heads to the jury. She is expected to rest, and then the jury will be given instructions. Actually, the jury will be given instructions first, and then there will be closing arguments by both the state and the defense, and then the jury will take this case. So will we have a verdict tomorrow at this time? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know where you're watching from. I hope you had a great weekend. I had a really nice time with my family and ready to be back here at least for a few more days. We'll see how long the jury's out. Hopefully not for a few more weeks. Here's what we're going to do tonight. I want to take you back to the very beginning of the case. We're going to do like a speed run through the witnesses and the testimony that we have heard. We heard from 19 witnesses in this case. I'm going to play a clip, one clip from each one, just like a synopsis as far as what each witness said, what they had to say, and how it contributed to the trial. These are all prosecution witnesses, as the defense did not put on any witnesses in this case, just so you are up to speed and just so you know what the jurors will be considering when they go in to deliberate tomorrow. So you ready? Let's start with opening statements. First, we had Trina Kay.
So I'm going to need you to stay close to me the next couple days. Mel, too. She can't go to Utah. They're planking some kind of intervention, but want Mel out of the way, so I'm left alone. I need to come get the stuff at your house tomorrow and secure it. Lots to do. Thanks for standing by me. It's all coming to a head this week. I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you. Lori Daybell, the woman seated over here, wrote this to her brother, Alex Cox, on July 9th of 2019, 2 days before they killed Charles Vallow. In July of 2019, Lori Daybell was Lori Vallow, married to Charles Vallow. In July of 2019, Lori Vallow wanted to be Lori Daybell, wife of Chad Daybell. And in July of 2019, Lori Vallow wanted to keep the same lifestyle that she had with Charles. And she could get all of this if Charles was dead. She could marry Chad Daybell and become Lori Daybell. She would get a $1 million life insurance policy from Charles Vallow. She would get Social Security for herself and their son, JJ, as a child of a dead spouse. And all of this would be true if Charles Vallow was dead.
After Trina Kay's opening statement, we had Lori Vallow Daybell.
The evidence will show that Chandler police treated this incident as self-defense.
And object to that?
Objection sustained. The jury should disregard that last statement.
The evidence will show you that my brother, Alex Cox, passed away on December 12th, 2019, almost exactly 5 months to the day after Charles, my husband, passed away. The evidence will show that Alex passed away from a blood clot in his lung.
Objection again.
I'll sustain the objection. It's not relevant for this matter.
The evidence will show you that I am the only person being charged with this crime.
I'm going to object to the relevance of that.
Sustained.
As the state has mentioned, they are alleging that insurance money was my motive. Social Security was my motive. Spouses having insurance policies is not a crime. Collecting Social Security is not a crime. Self-defense is not a crime. A family tragedy is not a crime. It's a tragedy.
After that statement, right away, the state began with their witnesses. The first one was Chandler Police Sergeant Erwin Wiersbicki.
When a person is been shot and you check for a pulse and you believe they are deceased, as a police officer, are you supposed to touch the body?
No.
Is the body basically a crime scene?
Yes.
Based upon your training and experience, did you believe that the victim was deceased?
Yes, ma'am.
Do fire have EKG, heart monitors, and things that they use to determine if maybe you missed a pulse.
Yes, ma'am.
When you talked about giving CPR, if an individual is now a crime scene, would giving CPR to that deceased person change the crime scene?
Yes.
And so as someone who believed the person was deceased, you did not want to modify or change the crime scene?
Correct.
Now, during his testimony, there were a couple of police camera screenshots that were admitted from the body cam. We also had the police body camera footage that was admitted and shown to the jurors. Most of it was muted, but they were able to see and kind of get an introduction to what this case is all about. Following the sergeant's testimony, retired Chandler police officer Robert Crothheim, he testified, and we saw more body camera footage.
How long do you think that you were at the residence? What was the whole time before you guys left to go to the police station? Do you remember? Do you recall?
I do not. It would be in my CAD history on when I transported him from the home to the PD, so I'd have to look at that, and I don't know. 40 minutes, half hour, 40 minutes, something like that.
Now, someone on the video, and I don't remember who it was, but put a phone into a evidence bag. Was that you?
I don't recollect that.
Okay. And then got into the car. Did someone ride with you to the police station from the residence? Just you and Alex were in the car?
Yes,
No other officers?
correct.
But before you got into the car, an officer came over and took his phone and put it in an evidence bag?
You're asking me from recollection. I don't remember that. It's probable because we usually try to bring their property to the area where we're going to, so it's probable.
I just didn't see it in your report, but I saw it on the body cam, so I wondered if you knew. Okay.
I'm going to object to the defendant testifying.
All right. Please only ask questions.
Sure.
When you make statements about what you saw or heard, that's testimony.
I apologize, Your Honor.
Straight from that police officer to Chandler fire employee, firefighter Scott Dowden. He responded to the scene the day that Charles Vallow was shot and killed on July 11th.
In this case, had you received any information about whether or not he was receiving CPR?
Yes, I recall we had that info two ways. We had it with the PTI on our computer screen, which would be coming from our fire department dispatch. And then we have the ability to also listen on the radio to the PD channels. And so we can hear communication between the officers that are getting on scene and then the PD dispatch. And they also communicated that at some point in time.
When you entered the house, was there an officer already inside?
I believe there was an officer inside with Captain Keller.
And did you observe anyone giving the patient CPR?
No.
Can you tell us what you saw when you first entered the house?
You walked in the front door, just kind of a little entryway, and it kind of, I feel like it stepped down into maybe a formal kind of family room or something, but it was empty with no furniture anywhere in the room. That jumped out at first because it makes it easier. Like sometimes we're on scenes where the patient could be between a bed and a closet and you got to move them somewhere. So those thoughts are already kind of in your mind that you may have to move a patient just to have better access, and that was not a challenge here.
By the way, I do want to say that all of these testimonies, if you want to listen in full, we have them all posted on our YouTube channel. You can search by the person's name and watch them all. That way you don't have to watch the entire day. That was the end of day one. We heard from the three witnesses. Day two, Tuesday, April 8th, first guy on the stand was Chandler Fire Kent Keller.
So when he's rolled, you're looking at his back?
Back, right, from the back of the head to the back of the feet.
Okay, so he's completely rolled over so that you can see his back.
Yes.
Did you notice anything about Mr. Vallow's back that may have indicated he'd been there for significantly longer than you originally thought?
He did have lividity So there was modeling, skin modeling, and lividity. Once the shirt comes off, then you could see modeling on the skin, and lividity had begun to form.
Can you tell us what modeling means?
Modeling is sort of a patchy-looking skin caused from hypoxia or not enough oxygen getting to the skin. I mean, you can have mottled skin for different reasons, but in this case, it would be from his heart not beating.
Okay. And then you said lividity. What does
Yes,
that
ma'am.
mean?
So lividity is the pooling of blood, and that takes longer, much longer. So the blood will begin to leave the tissues and gravity drain to the lowest part of the body.
Following Mr. Keller's testimony, we went straight into retired Chandler Police Detective Daniel Coons. He was on the stand for quite a while. This is where we saw an overview diagram of the scene, of the house. We saw photos of the scene. We saw photos of the bat. We saw casings, bullet casings that were recovered from the main room. We saw the gun for the first time. We saw a gun case. We saw the piece of the wooden floor that was actually cut out when the bullet went into the ground. The jury got to hold it and see it. It was passed around, and he testified about his experience.
So according to where you put him standing with the first shot, the casing bounced off of the wall to the right and landed to the left.
Correct.
And then where you have him standing in the second shot, the same thing happened.
Approximately, yes.
And how far apart were those casings found?
I don't have the specific measurement of how far apart they were. They were a few feet.
So they're a few feet apart.
Yes.
So if he was standing in the same place, would they be a few feet apart or would they be closer?
It depends on a different amount of things, like how was the gun being held? Was it canted to the side? Was it not? What the angle was. Could the shooter have moved? A little, but it would have been the same general vicinity.
But you said he didn't move, according to you.
I said I didn't say he moved.
So he could have moved because they were more than a foot apart, the casings found.
A little, yes. Would have been in the same general area.
So he could have taken a couple steps.
Perhaps. Could have slid the body sideways. Anything that you can do to the body, it could have been done in a short area.
He was the last witness on day 2 of the trial. On day 3 of the trial, this is where things got a little spicy, you could say. The first witness we heard was Nancy Jo Hancock. Everybody remembers Nancy Jo. She went on a date with Charles Vallow the night before he was killed. She had a lot to say as far as what he told her about Lori, as far as the text messages that they were sent back and forth. Here's just a snippet of what she said. Really, I'm going to play the part where Lori was cross-examining her, probably one of the most memorable parts of the trial. You remember.
So are you trying to tell me and this jury that you went on one date with my husband and he told you all the details of our lives?
I'm telling you the truth, and that's what I know.
So you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you.
You knew a lot about me, right?
I knew what I've testified to.
What else did you talk about on your date?
Lots of things.
Like what, for instance?
Life, kids, the church, lots of things.
Okay. Did he tell you about anything about our other 4 children?
Yes,
So you knew that we did have 5 children as well?
I did.
Okay. Did he talk to you about my daughter, Tylee?
He did.
Did he talk about his relationship with her?
I don't recall that.
Did he talk about the contention in his relationship with my daughter, Tylee?
I don't recall that.
I'm sure you don't.
I'm going to object to comments by the defendant made after questions, testifying.
Let's sustain the objection.
If you haven't watched all of Nancy Jo's testimony, you got to go watch it. Straight after her, we went to one of Lori's old friends, Christina Atwood. She was kind of part of the group, you could say. She knew Melanie Gibb. She knew Melanie Pulowski. She knew Alex. She knew Lori. She talked about, what was happening with their group.
Did you hear Lori speak about Charles being possessed more than once,
Yes.
on more than one occasion?
Yes.
Did she tell you, as well as the other women who were at this meeting in February, that her husband was possessed?
Yes.
Okay. So it wasn't just you in a private conversation.
Correct.
She was open about it.
Yes.
When you would try to reach Lori, did she have multiple phone numbers that you could call?
Yes.
Do you recall if she had more than 2 phones?
I know 2 cell phones.
Okay. And did she also potentially have a third line? A third phone number that might have been a home number?
Yes.
Okay. So at least 2 different cell phones that you could call her.
Yes.
Was she working at the time?
Not that I recall.
Did you know her to work?
No.
Those were the 2 witnesses we heard on that one day, Nancy Jo and Christina. On Thursday, April 10th, this is day 4 of the trial, Adam Cox, Lori's brother, took the stand. He had a lot to say when asked by prosecutions, and then we had another memorable line from Lori when she was questioning him about a family get-together.
Did you see me at Colby's wedding in January 2018?
No, I was not there.
You didn't come to Colby's wedding.
No, I did not.
So did you see me sometime that year at my house
Possibly.
where Colby got married? That house.
I did see you at that house, yes.
At least one time.
Yes.
So possibly in 2018.
Yes.
And when was the last time we had any communications?
The last time I remember our communications was you and I were speaking in the kitchen when the family was over.
Okay. So you think that was that time in 2018?
I think so.
Okay. And were we eating my green chili chicken enchiladas?
Do not remember that.
You do not remember that?
Nope.
Is that what I made every time we had a family get together, which was like 10 times a year?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
I think that I have heard more about green chili enchiladas the past 2 weeks than in my entire life. So you can send me more recipes if you want. Someone actually wrote me and asked for Erica's green chili enchilada recipe. So sorry if we didn't send it to you. I have to ask her about that. After Adam, we heard from Serena Sharp. This was another friend of Lori's who was inside the group as well, who saw a lot. And she was just uncomfortable when Lori started saying that her husband was evil and possessed and that Alex just wanted to kill him.
Do you recall what Lori told you about not needing to repent anymore?
What I remember is she's had a couple of verses in the Bible that she pulled out and read and then said, I believe something to the effect of, I believe we don't need to repent anymore.
Did that stand out to you?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Was that
That was
concerning
shocking.
to you?
Pardon?
Was that concerning to you?
Very.
I think you just said you were shocked by it.
Yes.
It was that against your religion.
Correct.
Ms. Sharp, did you take an oath when you came into this courtroom today?
Yes, I did.
Did you raise your hand?
Yes, I did.
Did you swear to tell the truth?
Yes, I did.
The whole truth?
Yes.
Nothing but the truth?
Yes.
So help you who?
God.
So can we agree that this court acknowledges that your testimony here today will be accountable to God?
Your Honor, I don't object to the relevance of this.
Sustained.
Your Honor, they brought up the religion.
Ask for a response. It's sustained. Ask the next question.
Do you believe that your testimony here will be accountable to God?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Sharp, how many times did we meet in person?
4.
How many one-on-one conversations during those meetings do you think that we actually had? Just you and me. Nobody else around. Just you and me.
Maybe two,
2 conversations in our whole lives.
maybe
Just
three.
me and you.
You said during those meetings.
During the 4 times that we saw each other in person, how many times did you and I have a one-on-one conversation where other people were not in the conversation? Just me and you.
I can remember 3.
Okay? And how many times did we communicate on the phone?
Do you want me to estimate? I don't remember how many times.
Sure, just an estimate.
I'm not sure how to estimate that. Multiple times?
Like more than 10 or less than 10?
Probably more than 10.
More than 20?
I don't remember.
After Serena finished testifying, we heard from a retired detective from the Chandler Police Department, William McDonald. He talked about the phone, getting the information from Charles's iPhone. Here's a bit of his testimony.
The question is, if someone were to delete their browser history, can you still pull the history?
On occasion. Browser history and any internet data like that, especially on cell phones, over time, if it's been deleted, it can be overwritten. However, if it is more recent, and sometimes by recent, we are actually talking within the last year or so, that information, regardless of it being deleted, can be recovered by the software.
It was a busy day on this particular day, on Thursday, because after Detective McDonald testified, Marissa Francisco with the department, the police department, also testified. She's the one that tried to get fingerprints off of the bat. Remember that? It was a long conversation. They got it tested to see if there was latent prints on the bat. Ultimately, here's what she said.
I was initially asked to compare the 3 impressions to a Charles Vallow, a Lori Vallow, and an Alexander Cox.
So you told us, though, they were of no value for identification. So did that sort of end that request?
Yes, so when there is only prints that are determined to be no value for identification, we routinely do not compare those prints, but we say, if you still want us to compare it to anyone, please let us know. But initially, we are not going to try to compare NVID prints to any individual because they cannot be identified.
So did you then, were you then requested to see if you could make any exclusions?
I was then requested to compare the 2 impressions to Charles Vallow to see if I can determine whether the 2 impressions did not originate from Charles Vallow.
Were you able to reach any conclusions in looking at the prints from Charles Vallow and that recovered print?
Again, I went through the ACE-V process, and during the comparison phase and evaluation phase, I determined that the latents or the first latent was inconclusive to Charles Vallow, meaning that I could neither identify nor exclude him from having made the impression.
So after that witness, we went straight to Kay Woodcock, who of course knows a lot about Lori, knows a lot about this case. She's been sitting in court every single day, hoping for justice on behalf of her brother, Charles Vallow. She took the stand, and then Lori Vallow, for the first time in over 5 years, nearly 6 years, came face to face with Kay Woodcock. Lori's demeanor was quite different than previous witnesses. Here's a little bit of what went down that day.
Ms. Woodcock, where were you on July 11th, 2019?
At home in Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Were you aware at all of the relationship between Charles and Tylee?
It was, let's say, it was a bit contemptuous. It seemed like there was always a lot of drama going on, and so that's all I knew. He didn't say too much about it, and I didn't pry.
But you knew that there was some kind of contention going on with those two for
I can't
a
hear
while.
you.
I'm sorry. You did know that there was some kind of contention going on with those two for a while.
Yes.
Okay. And you weren't really aware of the events that happened that morning, were you?
The morning of
July
his murder?
Of July 11th?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Because you didn't tell me.
Ms. Woodcock, did you see or hear or personally witness me conspire with Alex Cox to kill my husband, Charles Vallow?
No, but I saw a ton of evidence that did.
Thank you. No further questions.
Kay's testimony is also one that you want to watch the whole thing. Go to our YouTube channel and check it out if you haven't. Kay's testimony ended week 1, starting week 2, just last Monday, if you can believe it or not. The week started with the medical examiner, Dr. Derek Baumgartner, and he talked about the autopsy. We saw photos of the autopsy. We saw photos of Charles Vallow dead on the floor, and here is a little bit of his testimony.
Where was the exit wound associated with this gunshot wound to the chest?
So it's on the thoracic back, which is like the middle of the back.
I'm going to put 168 up. Is that a closer up of that exit wound?
Yes.
Okay. And put up 169. Is that again closer of this?
It is.
How are you able to determine that that's an exit wound?
It has characteristics of an exit wound. Typically, exit wounds are not round like entrance wounds. They will sometimes be slit-like, as it is in this case, and typically they're a little bit larger than the entrance wound.
As you were performing the autopsy of Mr. Vallow, did you note another gunshot wound to Mr. Vallow?
I did, yes.
And I'm putting up Exhibit 172. Where was the other gunshot wound that you observed on Mr. Vallow?
On his left abdomen.
And do we see in 172, is that what we see sort of above and to the side of his belly button?
Yes.
Were you able to tell what we see in 172 here, whether that was an entrance or exit wound?
I was.
And what was this?
This was an entrance gunshot wound.
And again, were you following the same view of looking at all the same aspects of this wound to determine that it was an entrance wound?
Correct.
In this entrance wound, did you note any stippling?
I did not.
Any soot?
No.
So would that tell you that the individual or the muzzle of that gun was more than 4 or 5 feet away from the victim?
Most likely, yes.
Next witness after Dr. Baumgartner was Mark Sari. He's an inspector general who works for the Social Security Administration, and he's the one that conducted the investigation after they got a tip, they got information that Lori might be defrauding Social Security. Here's what Mr. Sari said.
What is a representative payee?
So based upon a child being a minor, we would appoint a called representative payee. So that person would be the payee on behalf of that child. So they would have a bank account and they would pay money from us on behalf of that child to pay for shelter, clothes, money, that sort of thing, food, that sort of thing.
Mr. Sari, you said that I did not notify Social Security of my marriage?
Correct?
That you know of?
To my knowledge, you have not? No.
Okay. So you don't know if in Hawaii I was at the Social Security office and notified them?
Sustain. It's, again,
But you're
testifying.
So would you have all of the information from every office in that regard?
From our review of the records, there is no notification at all of you ever notifying Social Security of that marriage.
Of the records that you had access to, is that correct?
From our review of these Social Security databases, which would encompass notifications. We have seen 0 notifications.
And what would you have to do to put in a notification?
An employee would have to go on the record and make a change or make a report of contact, that sort of thing.
And so that would go into a major database, and then it would be available to you as well?
We would have access to view and see if there was any changes made. There were no changes made after August 2019 on your behalf.
So none were made in November, to your knowledge?
There were none made.
And is that something that you would be made privy to
Yes.
in the course of your investigation?
Yes.
So it's not something that you could have just missed?
I did not miss it, correct?
We went straight from Mark Sari talking about the Social Security fraud to a woman named Robin Smith Scott. She works for Banner Life Insurance. She's the one that actually took the phone calls from Lori Vallow when Lori called to inquire about the beneficiary, and also wanted to know about when she learned that she was not the beneficiary, called back to the life insurance company hoping for some answers. We heard those calls. I won't play them for you tonight. I'll play you a little bit of what Miss Smith Scott said.
Prior to February 26th of 2019, who was the beneficiary of Charles Vallow's life insurance policy with Banner?
Prior to that date, Lori Vallow was the beneficiary.
So prior to February 26th of 2019, if Charles Vallow had passed away, would his wife, Lori Vallow, have gotten $1 million?
Correct.
In February of 2019, did Charles Vallow call Banner Life Insurance and request a beneficiary designation form?
He did.
Was one sent to him?
Yes, it was emailed to him.
And did Banner Life Insurance then receive a beneficiary designation form on February 26th of 2019 from Charles Vallow?
Yes.
Was that notarized?
Yes.
And in that beneficiary designation form, did Charles Vallow change the beneficiary for his life insurance?
Yes.
Who did he make the primary beneficiary for the life insurance?
His sister, Ethel K. Woodcock.
After Robin Smith Scott's testimony, Jeff Mober took the stand. He works for the Department of Emergency Management in Arizona. He's the one that actually took Alex's gun and tested it and was able to testify that the bullets found at the scene actually came out of the gun that was registered to Alex Cox.
Ultimately, your conclusion was both those cartridge casings and that projectile that you were provided was fired from the gun you were provided.
That's correct.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Our next witness was another detective with the Chandler Police Department, Cassandra Youngclawn, and I'm probably still saying it wrong. I'm sorry, detective, if you're watching, and to your family. We saw clips during her testimony of Lori's interview with the police after Charles was shot. She was taken to the police station. She was interviewed. We just saw short little clips. We didn't see clips of Tylee because that would be hearsay. You can't bring that in because, unfortunately, Tylee is not here to testify about what happened. But we did see clips of Lori, and then we got to hear Lori cross-examine her. In fact, Detective Cassandra's testimony, I'm just doing so bad at this, what lasted over 2 days, and here's a little bit of that.
Opened the van. I made contact with her. I think at some point I asked her something to the effect if she would step out of the van to talk to me. And at that point, she said that she already knew because she was there, which was kind of a surprise. I wasn't necessarily expecting that. And at that point, I confirmed with her that he had died and he was deceased, and quickly kind of conferred with my sergeant away that at this point her and Tylee are now witnesses to the event and they need to be interviewed, obviously.
Okay. So it's normal for detectives to have to make death notifications?
Yes.
And you have made death notifications in other cases?
Unfortunately, yes.
And so in this case, you yourself was the one surprised to learn that you didn't have to give her a death notification.
I was.
Did her demeanor change at all when she's telling you that she was there and knew he was dead?
No.
And you talked about my demeanor, right? Being ordinary. Is that what you said?
Being ordinary?
You said ordinary, non-emotional, nonchalant.
Correct.
What's your definition of nonchalant?
Pretty almost detached, just calm, doesn't really matter, kind of not extraordinary.
Do you have a degree in psychology?
I do not.
Do you know what a person should act like if they're in a stressful situation?
So there isn't one way to act. There's just behavior that is striking.
Striking behavior.
Correct.
Okay. You said that Tylee and I were in the van. Is that correct?
Correct. When I came over to talk to you.
And who was with you?
My sergeant, Sergeant Lockwood.
And was Detective Moffat not with you as well?
He was not.
And so you had stated that you had asked me to get out of the van? Is that correct?
I was trying to get you to come. My intention was to get you to come out of the van. And then you made a statement that you were there. You already knew.
What did you say that made me say that I was already there?
I was asking you to step out of the van. And you said, I was there. I already know.
I already know what?
That Charles had died. I was trying not to tell you in front of your daughter.
That would have been nice, but that wasn't the point. How did I know you were coming to give me a death notification?
Can I reject his speculation?
Sustained.
Did you notify me that I'm going to give you a death notification? I don't want to do it in front of your daughter? What did you say?
It would be slightly redundant to tell you I was doing a death notification if I didn't want to tell you in front of your daughter.
Why would I say to you, I already know?
Sustained. That's the form of the question calls for her to speculate about your state of mind.
So did you speak to me giving me a death notification, or was it Lockwood, sorry. Who spoke to us?
We were both involved in the conversation.
And what was said to us?
You said that you were there and you already knew. And at that point, shortly thereafter, I asked you if you and Tylee would come back to the station to do interviews so I could talk with you.
You asked us if we would come, or you said we're going to go down to the station and interview you?
I asked you if you would come. It was a consensual contact. It was a voluntary interview.
Our second to last witness in the trial was Detective Ariel Werther. He was tasked with plotting out the movements of Charles Vallow's cell phone the day that he died. And he was able to show the jury that phone went from the house to Burger King to Walgreens to JJ's school before 911 had even been called. And he showed the surveillance photos from Burger King, from Walgreens, Lori going in to buy flip-flops. He talked about the cell phone towers, also the fact that he searched Charles Vallow's hotel room after Charles died, and they seized the evidence. Here's a little bit of what Detective Werther said.
So we've added on the map the location of the Burger King at 2865 East Ocotillo Road, and you can see the red dots again representing the GPS locations from Charles Vallow's phone, arriving at around that time. So we're looking from 7:53 to 7:56, and the device is at or near where that Burger King is located.
And so when you went to Burger King, let me ask this. The prior map that we saw, did that cell tower cover the area of where this Burger King was or is?
It may have. The thing is, all these locations are estimates, so it's in the area. It likely covered it, yes.
Did you then utilize that video that we talked about to confirm that Charles Vallow's phone showing in this area appeared to match the SUV as well as Ms. Vallow being there.
Yes, it appears to match this visit to the Burger King, which we are now seeing. This is the video that I recovered from the Burger King.
All right, so this was a video that, so you could identify the vehicle and at least see the license plate on that.
Correct.
And as you watched it, this one doesn't depict the, or you can't see the driver on this video, right?
Right, there's another view coming up. So this is their drive-through window view. Again, at 7:54.
And were you able to identify JJ in the front seat of the car at the Burger King?
I wouldn't say that I can definitely identify him.
That you indicate possible juvenile with short dark hair in front passenger seat. Is that correct?
That's what I was able to see on the video.
Okay.
And the final witness in this trial was Detective Nathan Duncan with Chandler Police. He's the case agent. This has been his case since 2020. He had a lot to say. In fact, he testified all day on Wednesday. He was the only one on the stand. We saw all sorts of evidence, text messages mainly, between Charles and Alex and Adam and Lori, and messages with Chad Daybell in there. We heard the James and Elena story. We saw the wedding certificate of Charles of Chad and Lori getting married. And then Miss Lori Vallow herself got to cross-examine Detective Duncan. Here's a little bit of that.
You had testified earlier about the story of Nephi, is that correct?
Yes.
And you said that you researched it, is that correct? What research did you do?
Well, the very basic research. I Googled who is Nephi. What does Nephi stand for? I've also, through this process over the last 4 or 5 years, have asked other members of the church just a simple question: tell me about Nephi. And every single person I talk to tells me that same story that was told by Adam.
So are you aware that there's 15 books in the Book of Mormon?
I am not.
Are you aware that 4 of those books are books of Nephi?
I am not.
That there's Nephi 1, 1st Nephi, 2nd Nephi, 3rd Nephi, 4th Nephi?
No, I'm not.
Okay. That there's many stories of Nephi. Is that correct? Or you don't know?
I don't know.
So the very first story is the story that...
I'm going to object to testifying.
It sounds like that's the way it was going. So please just ask questions.
So you did not read the Book of Mormon?
No.
You did not read 1st Nephi?
No.
You just asked people. That was your research?
I asked members of that particular church, and I also did an internet search, yes.
So you did an internet search, and it gave you all the stories of Nephi?
That's the story that came up.
So how long did you do that research for?
I couldn't tell you.
So in your research, did you discover that there's about 25 stories of Nephi in that Book of Mormon?
I didn't see that, no.
And that there's 4 different prophets that are called Nephi in the Book of Mormon?
I'm going to again object as to testifying, and the detective has already indicated, so asked and answered.
I'll overrule the objection. He can ask if he knows that or not.
What was the question? Sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't remember. Can the court reporter tell
There's
us?
4 different people referred to as Nephi.
Yeah, 4 different prophets in the Book of Mormon that are Nephi. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. So isn't it true that you really have no idea what I was referring to when I referenced Nephi in my text message?
I can only go off of what I see. I can't tell you what you're thinking or what you're trying to relay there, but based on my knowledge and based on talking to people about who is Nephi, that is the story that came up consistently.
You relayed to the jury that it was in order to kill. You relayed to the jury.
I said that the story was the same story and similar to Adam told.
Okay, and you said it earlier that that was in order to kill. That I referenced Nephi. I will be like Nephi and you will be like Nephi. To the jury here today.
ask a question. That's a statement, not a question.
Do you have knowledge that my text message meant that at all?
No.
Well, you went around the whole entire house looking for blood, is that correct?
Yes.
And you had the gun in your possession,
Yes.
and you're in a police station.
I was at your house.
I'm saying you have access as the case agent to have any of these things tested, is that not right?
Yes.
So why didn't you test them?
Because I did not think that luminol was needed to be tested because there was no visual blood.
So wouldn't you like to know that for sure?
I guess you're making, we make choices and we make decisions through this process based on the facts that we have and the facts that are presented to us. And based on the facts presented to us and what we saw and what we had, I did not feel that was necessary.
You have charged me with a crime, is that correct?
I have not, no.
You have helped them charge me with a crime, is that correct? The state of Arizona?
I conducted an investigation and I sent it forward, yes.
And you did not feel it was necessary to test any of these things?
Objection, Your
As
Honor.
the case
Asked
agent.
and answered like 4 times.
Sustained.
What logical reason do you have as an investigator to not investigate all of these things that were available to you for the past 5 years?
Your Honor, I'm again going to object to asked and answered. If there's a specific thing that hasn't been asked,
That's a really very broad question. I'll sustain the objection. Yeah.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
So that is the trial in less than an hour. The things that we've sat through the past 7 days, there's all of the witnesses. There's little snippets. Of course, the jury will have far more to consider because they will have the whole testimonies in each and every single one of these witnesses. But that is just kind of synopsis, an overall picture. Lori Vallow Daybell is charged with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder on her 4th husband, Charles. The prosecution simply needs to get the jury to say, yes, she did conspire with Alex Cox to kill her husband. She did. Through her words, through her actions, through her text messages, through whatever, she did conspire to do that. And that is the task that the jury will have tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, the jury's going to gather around 11 o'clock. They are going to be read the instructions. It will take some time, probably 30, 40, 50 minutes. We will then break for lunch. After lunch, at 1 o'clock, it'll be a shorter lunch, the prosecution will give their opening No, they won't, because the trial's over. After lunch at 1 o'clock, the prosecution will give their closing argument. Miss Trina Kay has said that she thinks it will last about an hour. Lori Vallow Daybell will then have a chance to give her closing statement. She says hers will be less than that. The prosecution, if they want, can then do a final closing after that, and then the jury takes the case. So you figure that out in time-wise. The jury could potentially have the case by 2:30, maybe, tomorrow. 3-ish at the latest. Do they stay and deliberate into the evening? Do we have a verdict by 5, by end of business day? I don't know, but you'll have to stick with us because we're going to be on live all day tomorrow. We're going to bring you the live proceedings. Well, not live. We're going to bring you the video from the courthouse. We are checking to see if we can actually take it live. One thing we will have live is updates from the courtroom because I'm going to be in there. And you can follow at eastidahonews.com. I'm going to have the written updates. It'll also be on my X account. And then when the verdict comes down, we'll have that. And then we will have live coverage from outside the courthouse as people come out and speak. And I'll be bringing you live reporting. And then tomorrow night, we'll be back for Courtroom Insider unless we're on jury watch. If we're on jury watch, I will come on live at 8 o'clock Mountain Time tomorrow from the courthouse, unless the judge tells the jurors to go home, and we'll resume again on Tuesday morning. Regardless, there'll be some sort of update. This is always the exciting time, the verdict watch time. We'd love to know when you think the jury will have a verdict. Put it in the comments below. And then Courtroom Insider, we're going to continue throughout the week. I don't know what we're going to have, but I have requested interviews from a lot of people, hoping to bring you interviews from some of the jurors, from other players in the story. So we'll see how that works. All right, everybody, I better get to bed because I have to get up early. I'm getting up early. For those of you asking about coming tomorrow, I don't know what time to tell you. I'm sure people will start lining up early. The courthouse does not open until 7:30. And so far, almost every day, everybody has gotten in. There's been a few days where like 2 or 3 people haven't gotten in, but That being said, don't hold it against me if you get there and you can't get in. I'm not your advisor. I'm not your seat advisor. All I would say is if you really want to get in tomorrow, you should get there early. There will be 15 media seats on the back row. The front row is reserved for like family members and whatnot. And then, and for the verdict, they might even allow additional law enforcement in to see. So there could be fewer seats for the verdict, but we'll just have to wait and see. I think there's around 45 public seats. So just so you know, then we look forward to Brandon's case. And I talked a little bit about that the other day. That one will begin end of May, jury selection, but the first day of actually opening statements and witnesses is like June 2nd, I believe. All right, everybody, I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. It's a new week, an exciting week. This has been Courtroom Insider. Thanks for watching. I'm Nate Eaton.